CLEP Introduction to Educational Psychology Quick Quiz. Question 1. Before answering, Ethan identifies that the class start feeling nervous after a certain chime is repeatedly paired with a pop quiz. Which term should be chosen? Option A, constructivism. Option B, metacognition. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, operant conditioning. The correct answer is option C. Classical conditioning. This describes classical conditioning because a neutral stimulus becomes linked with an emotional response after repeated pairings. Constructivism is not the best choice because it explains active meaning making, not a reflexive conditioned response. Metacognition is different because it concerns thinking about one's own thinking, not learned emotional associations. Operant conditioning does not fit because it focuses on consequences after behavior rather than associations before a response. Question 2. Which choice helps Ethan explain why an instructor adds praise after a student participates and participation increases in a mini lecture? Option A, punishment. Option B, extinction. Option C, positive reinforcement. Option D, negative reinforcement. The correct answer is option C. Positive reinforcement. This describes positive reinforcement because a desirable consequence is added after a behavior, making that behavior more likely. Punishment is not the best choice because it aims to reduce behavior rather than increase it. Extinction is different because it weakens behavior by withholding reinforcement. Negative reinforcement does not fit because it removes an unpleasant condition rather than adding a reward. Question 3. How can Ethan classify a classroom moment where the class complete homework early to avoid a weekly reminder call home? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, response cost. Option C, positive reinforcement. Option D, negative reinforcement. The correct answer is option D. Negative reinforcement. This describes negative reinforcement because a behavior increases because it helps the learner avoid or remove something unpleasant. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it involves stimulus association rather than consequences shaping behavior. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege after misbehavior. Positive reinforcement does not fit because it adds a pleasant consequence rather than removing an unpleasant one. Question 4. Suppose Ethan observes that a student receives an extra cleanup task after throwing paper and the behavior decreases. Which concept is shown? Option A, negative reinforcement. Option B, positive punishment. Option C, shaping. Option D, positive reinforcement. The correct answer is option B. Positive punishment. This describes positive punishment because an unpleasant consequence is added to reduce an unwanted behavior. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Shaping is different because it builds behavior through small reinforced steps. Positive reinforcement does not fit because it adds something desirable to increase behavior. Question 5. While reviewing, Ethan sees an instructor rewards each closer attempt as a shy learner gradually speaks louder in class. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, fixed ratio schedule. Option B, extinction. Option C, reciprocal teaching. Option D, shaping. The correct answer is option D. Shaping. This describes shaping because successive approximations are reinforced until the desired behavior develops. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it reinforces after a set number of responses, not gradual progress. Extinction is different because it reduces behavior by removing reinforcement. Reciprocal teaching does not fit because it uses student-led reading strategies rather than behavior building. Question 6. One interesting clue says an instructor stops laughing at off-task jokes and the jokes slowly fade away. Which educational psychology term fits for Ethan? Option A, punishment. Option B, modeling. Option C, extinction. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option C. Extinction. This describes extinction because a previously reinforced behavior decreases when reinforcement is no longer provided. Punishment is not the best choice because it adds or removes a consequence to reduce behavior more directly. Modeling is different because it involves learning by watching others. Spaced practice does not fit because it improves memory through distributed study sessions. Question 7. From this example, where a learner keeps answering review questions because bonus points appear after unpredictable numbers of correct responses, which answer should Ethan select? Option A, fixed ratio schedule. Option B, fixed interval schedule. Option C, variable interval schedule. Option D, variable ratio schedule. The correct answer is option D, variable ratio schedule. This describes variable ratio schedule because reinforcement occurs after an unpredictable number of responses, which often produces steady responding. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it rewards after a predictable number of responses. Fixed interval schedule is different because it rewards the first response after a set amount of time. Variable interval schedule does not fit because it rewards after changing time intervals rather than response counts. Question 8. Students in a practice test workshop discuss why the class work hardest right before a quiz that happens every Friday. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, variable ratio schedule. Option B, fixed interval schedule. Option C, fixed ratio schedule. Option D, token economy. The correct answer is option B, fixed interval schedule. This describes fixed interval schedule because reinforcement is available after a predictable amount of time has passed. Variable ratio schedule is not the best choice because it depends on unpredictable response counts. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it depends on a set number of responses. Token economy does not fit because it uses symbolic rewards exchanged for privileges. Question 9. Teachers in a tutoring table wonder why a child copies a classmate's polite hand raising after seeing the classmate praised. Which principle applies? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, insight learning. Option C, trial and error learning. Option D, observational learning. The correct answer is option D, observational learning. This describes observational learning because the learner changes behavior after watching another person and the consequences that follow. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links stimuli rather than modeling behavior. Insight learning is different because it involves a sudden solution, not imitation. Trial and error learning does not fit because it depends on personal attempts and feedback rather than watching a model. Question 10. Can Ethan treat a student with strong belief in personal ability chooses harder practice problems as evidence of which concept? Option A, self-efficacy. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, external locus of control. Option D, self-concept. The correct answer is option A, self-efficacy. This describes self-efficacy because the learner's belief in their capability affects effort, persistence, and challenge choice. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it refers to interest or enjoyment, not belief in ability. External locus of control is different because it attributes outcomes to outside forces rather than personal capability. Self-concept does not fit because it is a broader view of oneself, not task-specific confidence. Question 11. If Ethan must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a learner's confidence, classroom behavior, and teacher response all influence one another? Option A, maturation. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, norm reference testing. Option D, reciprocal determinism. The correct answer is option D, reciprocal determinism. This describes reciprocal determinism because personal factors, behavior, and environment interact in a two-way pattern. Maturation is not the best choice because it emphasizes biological growth rather than social interaction cycles. Classical conditioning is different because it focuses on learned stimulus associations. Norm reference testing does not fit because it compares scores to other test takers. Question 12. Rather than guessing, Ethan should connect. An instructor gives sentence starters at first and slowly removes them as the class improve with which concept? Option A, extinction. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, scaffolding. Option D, standardization. The correct answer is option C, scaffolding. This describes scaffolding because temporary support is provided and then withdrawn as learners become more independent. Extinction is not the best choice because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates learning after instruction is complete. Standardization does not fit because it keeps testing procedures the same for everyone. Question 13. Curiosity rises when Ethan reads that a learner can solve a problem with hints but not yet alone. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, zone of proximal development. Option B, reliability. Option C, mastery learning. Option D, formal operational stage. The correct answer is option A, zone of proximal development. This describes zone of proximal development because the task sits between independent ability and what the learner can do with support. Reliability is not the best choice because it concerns score consistency, not learning support. Mastery learning is different because it requires reaching a performance standard before moving on. Formal operational stage does not fit because it describes abstract reasoning, not support level. Question 14. A CLEP style scenario says a child calls a zebra a horse because it fits an existing animal category. Which answer best captures it for Ethan? Option A, encoding. Option B, accommodation. Option C, conservation. Option D, assimilation. The correct answer is option D, assimilation. This describes assimilation because new information is interpreted using an existing mental schema. Encoding is not the best choice because it is getting information into memory. Accommodation is different because it changes the schema to fit new information. Conservation does not fit because it is understanding that quantity can stay the same despite appearance changes. Question 15. Inside an after-school class, Ethan studies why a child changes the animal category after learning zebras are not horses. Which concept fits? Option A, class inclusion. Option B, rehearsal. Option C, assimilation. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option D, accommodation. This describes accommodation because an existing schema is revised when new information does not fit. Class inclusion is not the best choice because it involves understanding category relationships. Rehearsal is different because it is repeating information to maintain it in memory. Assimilation does not fit because it would force new information into an old schema. Question 16. Looking at the clue that a child solves conservation tasks but struggles with purely hypothetical logic, which idea should Ethan remember? Option A, formal operational thinking. Option B, concrete operational thinking. Option C, pre-operational thinking. Option D, sensoromotor thinking. The correct answer is option B, concrete operational thinking. This describes concrete operational thinking because children can reason logically about concrete objects but not fully abstract possibilities. Formal operational thinking is not the best choice because it includes abstract and hypothetical reasoning. Pre-operational thinking is different because it often lacks conservation and logical reversibility. Sensoromotor thinking does not fit because it centers on infant sensory and motor exploration. Question 17. Ethan sees that a teen reasons through a hypothetical justice problem without needing physical examples during a mini lecture. Which concept best explains it? Option A, pre-operational thinking. Option B, object permanence. Option C, concrete operational thinking. Option D, formal operational thinking. The correct answer is option D, formal operational thinking. This describes formal operational thinking because abstract and hypothetical reasoning are key features of this stage. Pre-operational thinking is not the best choice because it is marked by symbolic thought but limited logic. Object permanence is different because it is an infant understanding that objects still exist when unseen. Concrete operational thinking does not fit because it works best with tangible examples. Question 18. When Ethan notices that an infant searches for a hidden toy instead of acting as if it disappeared in a peer study circle, which idea is being tested? Option A, centration. Option B, object permanence. Option C, egocentrism. Option D, conservation. The correct answer is option B, object permanence. This describes object permanence because the child understands that objects continue to exist even when out of sight. Centration is not the best choice because it means focusing on one feature while ignoring others. Egocentrism is different because it involves difficulty taking another person's viewpoint. Conservation does not fit because it involves understanding quantity despite appearance changes. Question 19. During a Bright Review class, Ethan studies a case where an elementary student gains pride from mastering reading and classroom skills. Which term fits best? Option A, industry versus inferiority. Option B, generativity versus stagnation. Option C, trust versus mistrust. Option D, identity versus role confusion. The correct answer is option A, industry versus inferiority. This describes industry versus inferiority because school-age children build competence through successful work and feedback. Generativity versus stagnation is not the best choice because it focuses on adult contribution to others. Trust versus mistrust is different because it centers on infant caregiver reliability. Identity versus role confusion does not fit because it is mainly an adolescent search for personal identity. Question 20. In a quiet study group, Ethan asks why a teenager explores values, careers, and beliefs to answer who they are. Which answer names the idea? Option A, intimacy versus isolation. Option B, industry versus inferiority. Option C, identity versus role confusion. Option D, autonomy versus shame. The correct answer is option C, identity versus role confusion. This describes identity versus role confusion because adolescents work toward a stable sense of self and direction. Intimacy versus isolation is not the best choice because it usually involves young adult relationships. Industry versus inferiority is different because it focuses on school-age competence. Autonomy versus shame does not fit because it describes toddlers building independence. Question 21. After reading that a student says cheating is wrong because rules and community expectations matter, how should Ethan label the concept? Option A, moral realism. Option B, conventional morality. Option C, post-conventional morality. Option D, pre-conventional morality. The correct answer is option B, conventional morality. This describes conventional morality because moral reasoning is based on social approval, rules, and maintaining order. Moral realism is not the best choice because it treats rules as fixed and unchangeable. Post-conventional morality is different because it uses broad ethical principles beyond rules. Pre-conventional morality does not fit because it focuses on rewards and punishments. Question 22. For a short exam review, Ethan connects a child avoids lying mainly to escape punishment or earn a reward with which principle? Option A, conventional morality. Option B, post-conventional morality. Option C, identity achievement. Option D, pre-conventional morality. The correct answer is option D, pre-conventional morality. This describes pre-conventional morality because moral decisions are driven by personal consequences such as punishment or reward. Conventional morality is not the best choice because it emphasizes rules and approval from society. Post-conventional morality is different because it reasons from abstract principles and rights. Identity achievement does not fit because it describes commitment after exploration, not moral reasoning. Question 23. Could a case where a student argues that a rule should be challenged when it violates basic human rights be an example of which concept for Ethan? Option A, conventional morality. Option B, post-conventional morality. Option C, pre-conventional morality. Option D, learned helplessness. The correct answer is option B. Post-conventional morality. This describes post-conventional morality because moral reasoning is guided by universal principles rather than simple rule following. Conventional morality is not the best choice because it generally supports rules and social order. Pre-conventional morality is different because it focuses on personal gain or punishment. Learned helplessness does not fit because it concerns giving up after repeated failure. Question 24. Why would Ethan Lincoln instructor plans choices that include music, movement, language, and spatial design to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, multiple intelligences. Option B, G factor. Option C, norm reference testing. Option D, working memory. The correct answer is option A. Multiple intelligences. This describes multiple intelligences because the approach treats ability as varied across different domains of strength. G factor is not the best choice because it emphasizes a general intelligence factor. Norm reference testing is different because it compares learners to a group. Working memory does not fit because it is a limited mental workspace. Question 25. A practice item tells Ethan that an assignment asks the class to solve problems, create products, and apply ideas in daily life. Which concept is most likely? Option A, criterion reference testing. Option B, multiple intelligences. Option C, triarchic intelligence. Option D, fluid intelligence. The correct answer is option C. Triarchic intelligence. This describes triarchic intelligence because Sternberg's model highlights analytical, creative, and practical intelligence. Criterion reference testing is not the best choice because it measures performance against standards. Multiple intelligences is different because it lists broader domains such as musical or bodily kinesthetic abilities. Fluid intelligence does not fit because it refers to novel problem-solving ability. Question 26. Before answering, Ethan identifies that a learner studies child development because the topic feels genuinely fascinating. Which term should be chosen? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, performance goal. Option C, negative reinforcement. Option D, extrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option A. Intrinsic motivation. This describes intrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by interest, curiosity, or enjoyment of the activity itself. Performance goal is not the best choice because it focuses on looking competent compared with others. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Extrinsic motivation does not fit because it depends on outside rewards or pressures. Question 27. Which choice helps Ethan explain why a student completes extra practice mainly to earn a gift card in a teacher training scenario? Option A, self-regulation. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, extrinsic motivation. Option D, mastery goal. The correct answer is option C. Extrinsic motivation. This describes extrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by an outside reward rather than the activity itself. Self-regulation is not the best choice because it involves planning and monitoring one's learning. Intrinsic motivation is different because it comes from interest or enjoyment. Mastery goal does not fit because it emphasizes learning and improvement. Question 28. How can Ethan classify a classroom moment where a learner chooses difficult questions to improve understanding even if mistakes happen? Option A, avoidance goal. Option B, fixed mindset. Option C, performance goal. Option D, mastery goal. The correct answer is option D. Mastery goal. This describes mastery goal because the focus is on growth, learning, and skill development. Avoidance goal is not the best choice because it focuses on avoiding failure or embarrassment. Fixed mindset is different because it treats ability as unchangeable. Performance goal does not fit because it focuses on proving ability or outperforming others. Question 29. Suppose Ethan observes that a student studies mainly to score higher than classmates and appear smart. Which concept is shown? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, mastery goal. Option C, performance goal. Option D, metacognition. The correct answer is option C, performance goal. This describes performance goal because the learner is focused on demonstrating ability relative to others. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it centers on enjoyment or curiosity. Mastery goal is different because it centers on improvement and understanding. Metacognition does not fit because it involves awareness and control of thinking. Question 30. While reviewing, Ethan sees a learner explains a failed test by blaming effort, task difficulty, luck, or ability. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, attribution theory. Option B, classroom ecology. Option C, constructivism. Option D, information processing theory. The correct answer is option A, attribution theory. This describes attribution theory because it examines how people explain causes of success and failure. Classroom ecology is not the best choice because it focuses on classroom environment patterns. Constructivism is different because it emphasizes building meaning from experience. Information processing theory does not fit because it explains how information moves through memory systems. Question 31. One interesting clue says a student stops trying because repeated failures made success feel impossible. Which educational psychology term fits for Ethan? Option A, learned helplessness. Option B, positive transfer. Option C, self-efficacy. Option D, growth mindset. The correct answer is option A, learned helplessness. This describes learned helplessness because repeated uncontrollable failure can reduce motivation and effort. Positive transfer is not the best choice because it happens when prior learning helps new learning. Self-efficacy is different because it refers to belief in capability, not resignation. Growth mindset does not fit because it supports belief that ability can improve. Question 32. From this example, where a student treats mistakes as evidence that a skill can improve with strategy and effort, which answer should Ethan select? Option A, fixed mindset. Option B, external attribution. Option C, growth mindset. Option D, entity theory. The correct answer is option C, growth mindset. This describes growth mindset because ability is viewed as developable through effort, feedback, and better strategies. Fixed mindset is not the best choice because it treats ability as stable and hard to change. External attribution is different because it places causes outside the learner. Entity theory does not fit because it is another way to describe fixed views of ability. Question 33. Students in a peer study circle discuss why a hungry, unsafe student struggles to focus on a challenging lesson. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, Kohlberg theory. Option B, Bloom taxonomy. Option C, Maslow hierarchy of needs. Option D, classical conditioning. The correct answer is option C, Maslow hierarchy of needs. This describes Maslow hierarchy of needs because basic physiological and safety needs can affect readiness for higher level learning. Kohlberg theory is not the best choice because it describes moral reasoning development. Bloom taxonomy is different because it classifies cognitive learning objectives. Classical conditioning does not fit because it explains learned stimulus response associations. Question 34. Teachers in a bright review class wonder why a student loses track while solving a long mental math problem with many steps. Which principle applies? Option A, sensory memory. Option B, working memory. Option C, long-term memory. Option D, procedural memory. The correct answer is option B, Working memory. This describes working memory because working memory is the limited mental space used to hold and process information temporarily. Sensory memory is not the best choice because it briefly holds raw sensory input. Long-term memory is different because it stores information over extended periods. Procedural memory does not fit because it stores skills and habits. Question 35. Can Ethan treat a learner recalls a teaching theory studied weeks earlier as evidence of which concept? Option A, working memory. Option B, sensory memory. Option C, long-term memory. Option D, selective attention. The correct answer is option C. Long-term memory. This describes long-term memory because information retained over time is stored in long-term memory. Working memory is not the best choice because it is temporary and limited during active thinking. Sensory memory is different because it lasts only briefly after stimulation. Selective attention does not fit because it filters what receives mental focus. Question 36. If Ethan must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a student turns a new vocabulary term into a meaningful example to remember it? Option A, validity. Option B, retrieval. Option C, encoding. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option C. Encoding. This describes encoding because encoding is the process of getting information into memory in a usable form. Validity is not the best choice because it concerns whether a test measures what it should. Retrieval is different because it involves pulling stored information back out. Extinction does not fit because it weakens a learned behavior. Question 37. Rather than guessing, Ethan should connect a learner closes the book and answers questions from memory to strengthen recall with which concept? Option A, centration. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, massed practice. Option D, retrieval practice. The correct answer is option D. Retrieval practice. This describes retrieval practice because actively recalling information improves later memory more than simply rereading. Centration is not the best choice because it means focusing on one feature of a situation. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates learning at the end of instruction. Massed practice does not fit because it compresses study into one long session. Question 38. Curiosity rises when Ethan reads that a student studies the same concepts in short sessions across several days. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, spaced practice. Option B, shaping. Option C, massed practice. Option D, norming. The correct answer is option A. Spaced practice. This describes spaced practice because learning is distributed over time, which usually supports stronger retention. Shaping is not the best choice because it reinforces gradual behavior changes. Massed practice is different because it packs study into one concentrated period. Norming does not fit because it creates comparison data for a test. Question 39. A CLEP style scenario says a learner links a new theory to personal classroom experiences. Which answer best captures it for Ethan? Option A, reliability. Option B, elaboration. Option C, rote rehearsal. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option B. Elaboration. This describes elaboration because new information is made more meaningful by connecting it to existing knowledge. Reliability is not the best choice because it refers to consistency of measurement. Rote rehearsal is different because it repeats information without adding meaning. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 40. Inside a classroom discussion, Ethan studies why a student groups a long list of theorists into behaviorist, cognitive, and social categories. Which concept fits? Option A, overlearning. Option B, response cost. Option C, chunking. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option C. Chunking. This describes chunking because information is organized into meaningful units to reduce memory load. Overlearning is not the best choice because it continues practice after initial mastery. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege to reduce behavior. Accommodation does not fit because it changes a schema to fit new information. Question 41. Looking at the clue that a student checks which topics are weak and adjusts the study plan, which idea should Ethan remember? Option A, extrinsic motivation. Option B, metacognition. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, automaticity. The correct answer is option B. Metacognition. This describes metacognition because the learner monitors and controls their own thinking and learning strategies. Extrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it depends on external rewards. Classical conditioning is different because it involves learned associations. Automaticity does not fit because it means a skill requires little conscious effort. Question 42. Ethan sees that knowledge from a statistics lesson helps a student understand test reliability during a teacher training scenario. Which concept best explains it? Option A, transfer of learning. Option B, cognitive dissonance. Option C, extinction. Option D, negative punishment. The correct answer is option A. Transfer of learning. This describes transfer of learning because previous learning influences performance in a new but related situation. Cognitive dissonance is not the best choice because it involves discomfort from conflicting beliefs. Extinction is different because it reduces behavior when reinforcement stops. Negative punishment does not fit because it removes something desirable to reduce behavior. Question 43. When Ethan notices that an instructor gives a big picture concept map before a complex lesson begins in a final review session, which idea is being tested? Option A, advance organizer. Option B, token economy. Option C, random assignment. Option D, exit ticket. The correct answer is option A. Advance organizer. This describes advance organizer because a preview structure helps learners connect new information to prior knowledge. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Exit ticket does not fit because it checks understanding at the end of a lesson. Question 44. During a learning lab, Ethan studies a case where a learner uses an existing mental framework about classrooms to understand a new teaching method. Which term fits best? Option A, reinforcer. Option B, rubric. Option C, schema. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option C. Schema. This describes schema because a schema is an organized knowledge structure used to interpret information. Reinforcer is not the best choice because it is a consequence that increases behavior. Rubric is different because it is a scoring guide. Percentile rank does not fit because it shows relative standing in a group. Question 45. In an after-school class, Ethan asks why too many visuals, terms, and steps overwhelm a learner during a first lesson. Which answer names the idea? Option A, egocentrism. Option B, cognitive load. Option C, reliability. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option B. Cognitive load. This describes cognitive load because working memory can become overloaded when too much information must be processed at once. Egocentrism is not the best choice because it means difficulty taking another viewpoint. Reliability is different because it concerns consistency of scores. Intrinsic motivation does not fit because it concerns interest and enjoyment. Question 46. After reading that the class build their own understanding through discussion, examples, and problem solving, how should Ethan label the concept? Option A, constructivism. Option B, maturation. Option C, standardization. Option D, behaviorism. The correct answer is option A. Constructivism. This describes constructivism because learners actively construct meaning rather than simply receive information. Maturation is not the best choice because it emphasizes biological growth. Standardization is different because it keeps procedures uniform. Behaviorism does not fit because it emphasizes observable behavior and consequences. Question 47. For a short exam review, Ethan connects the class investigate a question, gather evidence, and develop an explanation with which principle? Option A inquiry-based learning. Option B direct instruction. Option C norm-referenced assessment. Option D fixed ratio reinforcement. The correct answer is option A. Inquiry-based learning. This describes inquiry-based learning because learning begins with questions and exploration rather than only direct telling. Direct instruction is not the best choice because it uses clear teacher-led explanation and guided practice. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares students to one another. Fixed ratio reinforcement does not fit because it rewards after a set number of responses. Question 48. Could a case where an instructor models a skill, guides practice, checks understanding, and gives feedback be an example of which concept for Ethan? Option A portfolio assessment. Option B peer tutoring. Option C discovery learning. Option D direct instruction. The correct answer is option D. Direct instruction. This describes direct instruction because the method uses explicit teaching steps and structured practice. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects work over time. Peer tutoring is different because it uses students helping students. Discovery learning does not fit because it expects students to uncover ideas with less direct guidance. Question 49. Why would Ethan link the class work in small groups with shared goals and individual accountability to one major educational psychology idea? Option A competitive learning. Option B cooperative learning. Option C independent study. Option D lecture method. The correct answer is option B. Cooperative learning. This describes cooperative learning because learners collaborate while each member remains responsible for contributing. Competitive learning is not the best choice because it ranks students against one another. Independent study is different because it relies on solo learning. Lecture method does not fit because it centers on teacher presentation. Question 50. A practice item tells Ethan that an instructor adjusts tasks, materials, and support based on learner readiness. Which concept is most likely? Option A summative assessment. Option B differentiated instruction. Option C random sampling. Option D standardized instruction. The correct answer is option B. Differentiated instruction. This describes differentiated instruction because instruction is adapted to different needs while keeping meaningful learning goals. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it evaluates after instruction. Random sampling is different because it selects participants for research. Standardized instruction does not fit because it delivers the same approach to all students. Question 51. Before answering, Ethan identifies that a lesson offers text, audio, visuals, and different ways to show understanding from the start. Which term should be chosen? Option A universal design for learning. Option B tracking. Option C accommodation only. Option D mastery grading. The correct answer is option A. Universal design for learning. This describes universal design for learning because UDL plans flexible access and expression options before barriers appear. Tracking is not the best choice because it separates students into groups by perceived ability. Accommodation only is different because it changes access for an individual after a need is identified. Mastery grading does not fit because it focuses on reaching standards before moving ahead. Question 52. Which choice helps Ethan explain why an instructor uses a quick exit question to adjust tomorrow's lesson in a morning lesson? Option A summative assessment. Option B placement test. Option C formative assessment. Option D norm referenced assessment. The correct answer is option C. Formative assessment. This describes formative assessment because the assessment is used during learning to guide instruction and feedback. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it judges learning after instruction is complete. Placement test is different because it sorts students before instruction begins. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to other learners. Question 53. How can Ethan classify a classroom moment where a final exam measures what the class learned after the unit ends? Option A, formative assessment. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, diagnostic assessment. Option D, anecdotal record. The correct answer is option B, summative assessment. This describes summative assessment because the assessment evaluates achievement at the end of a learning period. Formative assessment is not the best choice because it guides instruction during learning. Diagnostic assessment is different because it identifies starting strengths and needs. Anecdotal record does not fit because it is a brief observational note. Question 54. Suppose Ethan observes that a student's score is judged against a fixed standard of mastery. Which concept is shown? Option A, norm-referenced assessment. Option B, informal observation. Option C, ipsative assessment. Option D, criterion-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option D, criterion-referenced assessment. This describes criterion-referenced assessment because performance is compared with defined criteria rather than other students. Norm-referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares students to a reference group. Informal observation is different because it is not necessarily tied to a fixed standard. Ipsative assessment does not fit because it compares a student to their own past performance. Question 55. While reviewing, Ethan sees a score report shows how a student performed compared with a national sample. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, norm-referenced assessment. Option B, formative assessment. Option C, authentic assessment. Option D, criterion-referenced assessment. The correct answer is option A, norm-referenced assessment. This describes norm-referenced assessment because the score is interpreted relative to other test takers. Formative assessment is not the best choice because it is used during learning for improvement. Authentic assessment is different because it uses real-world tasks. Criterion-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to a standard. Question 56. One interesting clue says a test gives similar results when the same skill is measured repeatedly. Which educational psychology term fits for Ethan? Option A, bias. Option B, reliability. Option C, percentile rank. Option D, validity. The correct answer is option B, reliability. This describes reliability because reliability means scores are consistent across time, items, or raters. Bias is not the best choice because it concerns unfair advantage or disadvantage. Percentile rank is different because it reports relative standing. Validity does not fit because it asks whether the test measures the intended construct. Question 57. From this example, where a math test actually measures math reasoning instead of reading speed, which answer should Ethan select? Option A, standard error. Option B, inter-rater agreement. Option C, validity. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option C, validity. This describes validity because validity concerns whether an assessment measures what it claims to measure. Standard error is not the best choice because it estimates score uncertainty. Inter-rater agreement is different because it is one form of consistency between scorers. Reliability does not fit because it concerns consistency, not meaning. Question 58. Students in a final review session discuss why all examines receive the same directions, timing, and scoring rules. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, standardized test. Option C, authentic assessment. Option D, informal assessment. The correct answer is option B, Standardized test. This describes standardized test because standardization keeps testing conditions uniform so scores can be interpreted fairly. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects multiple pieces of work over time. Authentic assessment is different because it asks students to perform realistic tasks. Informal assessment does not fit because it may be flexible and teacher-made. Question 59. Teachers in a learning lab wonder why the class design a real classroom plan instead of only selecting answers on a test. Which principle applies? Option A, authentic assessment. Option B, norm-referenced assessment. Option C, forced choice test. Option D, standardized assessment. The correct answer is option A. Authentic assessment. This describes authentic assessment because students demonstrate learning through realistic tasks and products. Norm-referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares performance to a group. Forced choice test is different because it limits responses to provided options. Standardized assessment does not fit because it uses uniform procedures and scoring. Question 60. Can Ethan treat the class receive a scoring guide describing levels for evidence, clarity, and accuracy as evidence of which concept? Option A, norm table. Option B, syllabus. Option C, rubric. Option D, checklist. The correct answer is option C. Rubric. This describes rubric because a rubric lists criteria and performance levels for judging work. Norm table is not the best choice because it helps interpret scores against a sample. Syllabus is different because it outlines course policies and topics. Checklist does not fit because it often marks whether elements are present without quality levels. Question 61. If Ethan must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when an instructor moves the class from remembering facts to evaluating arguments and creating projects? Option A, Bloom taxonomy. Option B, Maslow hierarchy. Option C, Erikson stages. Option D, Kohlberg stages. The correct answer is option A. Bloom taxonomy. This describes Bloom taxonomy because the taxonomy organizes cognitive tasks from lower to higher levels of thinking. Maslow hierarchy is not the best choice because it organizes human needs. Erikson stages is different because it describes psychosocial development. Kohlberg stages does not fit because it describes moral reasoning. Question 62. Rather than guessing, Ethan should connect a student with a qualifying disability has a legal plan with goals and services with which concept? Option A, lesson plan. Option B, norming report. Option C, rubric. Option D, individualized education program. The correct answer is option D. Individualized education program. This describes individualized education program because an IEP documents specialized instruction, supports, goals, and services for eligible students. Lesson plan is not the best choice because it guides a teacher's daily instruction but is not a special education legal document. Norming report is different because it summarizes comparison data. Rubric does not fit because it scores performance. Question 63. Curiosity rises when Ethan reads that a student with a disability learns with non-disabled peers as much as appropriate. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, least restrictive environment. Option B, retention. Option C, standardization. Option D, tracking. The correct answer is option A. Least restrictive environment. This describes least restrictive environment because students should be educated in settings that provide access while avoiding unnecessary separation. Retention is not the best choice because it keeps a student in the same grade. Standardization is different because it keeps testing procedures uniform. Tracking does not fit because it groups students by perceived ability. Question 64. A CLEP style scenario says a learner gets extended time while the learning target stays the same. Which answer best captures it for Ethan? Option A, modification. Option B, punishment. Option C, accommodation. Option D, acceleration. The correct answer is option C, accommodation. This describes accommodation because access is adjusted without changing the essential learning expectation. Modification is not the best choice because it changes the learning expectation or task level. Punishment is different because it reduces unwanted behavior through consequences. Acceleration does not fit because it moves a learner ahead faster. Question 65. Inside a quiet study group, Ethan studies why a learner completes a simplified assignment with different learning expectations. Which concept fits? Option A, universal screening. Option B, scaffolding. Option C, accommodation. Option D, modification. The correct answer is option D, modification. This describes modification because the task or standard is changed to fit the learner's instructional level. Universal screening is not the best choice because it checks all learners for risk. Scaffolding is different because it gives temporary support toward the same goal. Accommodation does not fit because it changes access while keeping the same standard. Question 66. Looking at the clue that a strong thinker struggles with accurate word decoding and benefits from structured phonics, which idea should Ethan remember? Option A, percentile rank. Option B, dyscalculia support. Option C, behavior contract. Option D, dyslexia support. The correct answer is option D, dyslexia support. This describes dyslexia support because dyslexia commonly affects word reading and decoding, so explicit structured literacy support can help. Percentile rank is not the best choice because it reports relative test standing. Dyscalculia support is different because it focuses on math-related difficulties. Behavior contract does not fit because it targets behavior goals. Question 67. Ethan sees that a learner focuses better with short tasks, movement breaks, and clear routines during a morning lesson. Which concept best explains it? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, ADHD classroom support. Option C, gifted compacting. Option D, criterion testing. The correct answer is option B, ADHD classroom support. This describes ADHD classroom support because structured routines and attention supports can reduce distractions and support self-management. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links stimuli with responses. Gifted compacting is different because it removes already mastered work for advanced learners. Criterion testing does not fit because it compares performance to standards. Question 68. When Ethan notices that an advanced learner skips mastered work and uses time for deeper enrichment in a practice test workshop, which idea is being tested? Option A, remediation. Option B, extinction. Option C, retention. Option D, curriculum compacting. The correct answer is option D, curriculum compacting. This describes curriculum compacting because already mastered content is reduced so the learner can pursue more challenging work. Remediation is not the best choice because it retakes skills that are not yet mastered. Extinction is different because it removes reinforcement to reduce a behavior. Retention does not fit because it repeats a grade or course. Question 69. During a tutoring table, Ethan studies a case where examples, discussion norms, and materials connect learning to the class cultural backgrounds. Which term fits best? Option A, colorblind teaching. Option B, culturally responsive teaching. Option C, standardized testing. Option D, ability tracking. The correct answer is option B, culturally responsive teaching. This describes culturally responsive teaching because instruction uses students' cultural knowledge and experiences as assets for learning. Colorblind teaching is not the best choice because it ignores cultural differences rather than using them constructively. Standardized testing is different because it keeps procedures uniform. Ability tracking does not fit because it separates students by perceived ability. Question 70. In a classroom discussion, Ethan asks why an assessment unfairly disadvantages a group because examples depend on unfamiliar cultural knowledge. Which answer names the idea? Option A, validity evidence. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, test bias. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option C, test bias. This describes test bias because bias occurs when irrelevant factors give some groups an unfair advantage or disadvantage. Validity evidence is not the best choice because it supports appropriate score interpretation. Standard deviation is different because it describes score spread. Reliability does not fit because it concerns score consistency. Question 71. After reading that the class transition quickly because procedures for materials and movement are practiced daily, how should Ethan label the concept? Option A, classroom routines. Option B, random reinforcement. Option C, summative testing. Option D, accommodation. The correct answer is option A, classroom routines. This describes classroom routines because clear repeated procedures reduce confusion and support orderly learning time. Random reinforcement is not the best choice because it gives rewards unpredictably. Summative testing is different because it evaluates final achievement. Accommodation does not fit because it adjusts access for a learner. Question 72. For a short exam review, Ethan connects the class earn points for target behaviors and trade them for privileges with which principle? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, token economy. Option C, logical consequence. Option D, mastery learning. The correct answer is option B, token economy. This describes token economy because tokens serve as conditioned reinforcers that can be exchanged for backup rewards. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links two stimuli rather than using exchangeable rewards. Logical consequence is different because it is connected naturally to misbehavior. Mastery learning does not fit because it requires meeting standards before moving forward. Question 73. Could a case where a student who misuses lab materials must repair the setup and review safety steps be an example of which concept for Ethan? Option A, unrelated punishment. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, extinction. Option D, logical consequence. The correct answer is option D, logical consequence. This describes logical consequence because the consequence is related to the behavior and helps restore responsible action. Unrelated punishment is not the best choice because it does not connect meaningfully to the behavior. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing an unpleasant condition. Extinction does not fit because it withholds reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 74. Why would Ethan link an instructor spot small off-task behavior early while continuing the lesson smoothly to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, self-efficacy. Option B, wait time. Option C, withedness. Option D, scaffolding. The correct answer is option C, withedness. This describes withedness because withedness means awareness of classroom events and quick response before problems grow. Self-efficacy is not the best choice because it is belief in capability. Wait time is different because it is a pause after asking a question. Scaffolding does not fit because it gives temporary learning support. Question 75. A practice item tells Ethan that an instructor pauses several seconds after asking a question before calling on anyone. Which concept is most likely? Option A, withedness. Option B, distributed practice. Option C, response cost. Option D, wait time. The correct answer is option D, wait time. This describes wait time because wait time gives students more processing time and often improves response quality. Withedness is not the best choice because it is awareness of classroom behavior. Distributed practice is different because it spreads study sessions over time. Response cost does not fit because it removes a privilege after behavior. Question 76. Before answering, Ethan identifies that a prompt asks the class to explain several possible reasons instead of choosing one fact. Which term should be chosen? Option A, closed question. Option B, recall cue. Option C, open-ended questioning. Option D, fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option C, open-ended questioning. This describes open-ended questioning because open-ended questions invite elaboration, reasoning, and multiple defensible responses. Closed question is not the best choice because it usually has one brief answer. Recall cue is different because it simply prompts memory of stored information. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it reinforces after a set number of responses. Question 77. Which choice helps Ethan explain why an instructor tells a learner exactly what worked and what to revise next in a mini lecture? Option A, random correction. Option B, summative grade only. Option C, general praise. Option D, effective feedback. The correct answer is option D, effective feedback. This describes effective feedback because specific, timely feedback helps learners close the gap between current and desired performance. Random correction is not the best choice because it lacks targeted connection to the learning goal. Summative grade only is different because it reports performance without next steps. General praise does not fit because it may feel positive but gives little guidance. Question 78. How can Ethan classify a classroom moment where a student sets a goal, monitors progress, changes strategies, and reflects after studying? Option A, self-regulated learning. Option B, social facilitation. Option C, object permanence. Option D, operant conditioning. The correct answer is option A, self-regulated learning. This describes self-regulated learning because learners actively plan, monitor, control, and evaluate their learning. Social facilitation is not the best choice because it concerns performance changes in the presence of others. Object permanence is different because it concerns infant understanding of hidden objects. Operant conditioning does not fit because it emphasizes consequences shaping behavior. Question 79. Suppose Ethan observes that the class take turns summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting during reading. Which concept is shown? Option A, direct instruction. Option B, reciprocal teaching. Option C, random assignment. Option D, token economy. The correct answer is option B, reciprocal teaching. This describes reciprocal teaching because the strategy uses structured dialogue to improve comprehension. Direct instruction is not the best choice because it is mainly teacher-led explanation and practice. Random assignment is different because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Token economy does not fit because it uses symbolic rewards. Question 80. While reviewing, Ethan sees one student guides another through practice while both receive learning benefits. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, tracking. Option C, lecture. Option D, peer tutoring. The correct answer is option D, peer tutoring. This describes peer tutoring because students support each other's learning through structured helper-learner roles. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects work samples over time. Tracking is different because it separates students into ability groups. Lecture does not fit because it is teacher presentation to a group. Question 81. One interesting clue says a child identifies that cat and cup begin with the same spoken sound. Which educational psychology term fits for Ethan? Option A, morphology. Option B, syntax. Option C, phonics. Option D, phonemic awareness. The correct answer is option D, phonemic awareness. This describes phonemic awareness because the learner is attending to individual sounds in spoken language. Morphology is not the best choice because it studies meaningful word parts. Syntax is different because it concerns sentence structure. Phonics does not fit because it links sounds to printed letters. Question 82. From this example, where a learner improves a skill after watching a confident model demonstrate each step, which answer should Ethan select? Option A, Maslow needs. Option B, Piaget conservation. Option C, Bandura modeling. Option D, Skinner shaping. The correct answer is option C, Bandura modeling. This describes Bandura modeling because Bandura emphasized learning by observing models and the outcomes of their actions. Maslow needs is not the best choice because it explains motivation through layered needs. Piaget conservation is different because it concerns logical understanding of quantity. Skinner shaping does not fit because it reinforces gradual behavior changes through consequences. Question 83. Students in a practice test workshop discuss why family, school, peers, community, and culture all shape a child's development. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, Brenner ecological systems. Option B, information processing. Option C, Erikson psychosocial stages. Option D, Kohlberg moral stages. The correct answer is option A, Brenner ecological systems. This describes Brenner ecological systems because development is influenced by nested environmental systems around a child. Information processing is not the best choice because it compares thinking to mental processing systems. Erikson psychosocial stages is different because it focuses on lifespan social-emotional conflicts. Kohlberg moral stages does not fit because it focuses on moral reasoning. Question 84. Teachers in a tutoring table wonder why a young child uses a caregiver as a safe base and seeks comfort after stress. Which principle applies? Option A, avoidant attachment. Option B, authoritarian parenting. Option C, secure attachment. Option D, industry versus inferiority. The correct answer is option C, secure attachment. This describes secure attachment because secure attachment involves trust in caregiver availability and comfort. Avoidant attachment is not the best choice because it shows reduced seeking of comfort. Authoritarian parenting is different because it describes strict parenting style. Industry versus inferiority does not fit because it is a school-age psychosocial conflict. Question 85. Can Ethan treat two infants differ early in activity level, mood, and adaptability as evidence of which concept? Option A, criterion validity. Option B, temperament. Option C, self-concept. Option D, moral reasoning. The correct answer is option B, temperament. This describes temperament because temperament refers to biologically influenced patterns of emotional and behavioral response. Criterion validity is not the best choice because it links test scores to an outcome. Self-concept is different because it is a person's view of self. Moral reasoning does not fit because it concerns judgments about right and wrong. Question 86. If Ethan must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a child says "good" because a regular grammar rule is applied too broadly? Option A, babbling. Option B, telegraphic speech. Option C, language overgeneralization. Option D, code switching. The correct answer is option C, language overgeneralization. This describes language overgeneralization because the child applies a learned language rule to an irregular case. Babbling is not the best choice because it is early sound play. Telegraphic speech is different because it uses short two-word phrases. Code switching does not fit because it shifts language varieties based on context. Question 87. Rather than guessing, Ethan should connect the class. Explain whether a character should break a rule to help someone in need with which concept? Option A, behavior checklist. Option B, achievement test. Option C, aptitude test. Option D, moral dilemma assessment. The correct answer is option D, moral dilemma assessment. This describes moral dilemma assessment because moral dilemmas reveal the reasoning behind judgments, not just the choice itself. Behavior checklist is not the best choice because it records observed behaviors. Achievement test is different because it measures learned academic content. Aptitude test does not fit because it predicts future learning potential. Question 88. Curiosity rises when Ethan reads that a study finds that homework time and test scores rise together without proving cause. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, ethnography. Option B, case study. Option C, correlational research. Option D, experimental research. The correct answer is option C. Correlational research. This describes correlational research because correlation shows a relationship between variables but does not establish causation. Ethnography is not the best choice because it studies culture through immersion. Case study is different because it examines one person or small group deeply. Experimental research does not fit because it manipulates variables to test cause and effect. Question 89. A CLEP-style scenario says participants are placed into tutoring or no tutoring groups by chance. Which answer best captures it for Ethan? Option A, convenience sampling. Option B, random sampling. Option C, random assignment. Option D, matching. The correct answer is option C. Random assignment. This describes random assignment because chance placement helps make groups similar before the treatment begins. Convenience sampling is not the best choice because it uses whoever is easily available. Random sampling is different because it selects participants from a population. Matching does not fit because it pairs participants on key traits. Question 90. Inside an after-school class, Ethan studies why a researcher changes the type of feedback the class receive. Which concept fits? Option A, dependent variable. Option B, independent variable. Option C, confounding variable. Option D, control variable. The correct answer is option B. Independent variable. This describes independent variable because the independent variable is the factor the researcher manipulates. Dependent variable is not the best choice because it is the measured outcome. Confounding variable is different because it is an unwanted factor that may affect results. Control variable does not fit because it is held constant. Question 91. Looking at the clue that a researcher measures quiz scores after using two different teaching methods, which idea should Ethan remember? Option A, random assignment. Option B, independent variable. Option C, dependent variable. Option D, extraneous variable. The correct answer is option C. Dependent variable. This describes dependent variable because the dependent variable is the outcome measured to see whether the treatment had an effect. Random assignment is not the best choice because it is a grouping procedure. Independent variable is different because it is the factor manipulated. Extraneous variable does not fit because it is an outside influence. Question 92. Ethan sees that one group receives regular instruction while another receives a new memory strategy during a mini lecture. Which concept best explains it? Option A, control group. Option B, population. Option C, sample. Option D, experimental group. The correct answer is option A. Control group. This describes control group because the control group provides a comparison for judging the effect of the treatment. Population is not the best choice because it is the larger group of interest. Sample is different because it is the set of participants studied. Experimental group does not fit because it receives the treatment being tested. Question 93. When Ethan notices that an instructor adds all quiz scores and divides by the number of the class in a peer study circle, which idea is being tested? Option A, median. Option B, range. Option C, mode. Option D, mean. The correct answer is option D. Mean. This describes mean because the mean is the arithmetic average of a set of scores. Median is not the best choice because it is the middle score. Range is different because it is the difference between highest and lowest scores. Mode does not fit because it is the most frequent score. Question 94. During a Bright Review class, Ethan studies a case where an instructor wants to know how spread out the class scores are around the average. Which term fits best? Option A, mean. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, raw score. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option B. Standard deviation. This describes standard deviation because standard deviation describes typical distance of scores from the mean. Mean is not the best choice because it gives the average but not spread. Raw score is different because it is the number of points earned. Percentile rank does not fit because it shows relative standing. Question 95. In a quiet study group, Ethan asks why a student's report says the score is higher than the scores of 80% of the norm group. Which answer names the idea? Option A, percentage correct. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, percentile rank. Option D, grade equivalent. The correct answer is option C. Percentile rank. This describes percentile rank because percentile rank tells the percentage of comparison scores at or below a student's score. Percentage correct is not the best choice because it reports items answered correctly. Standard deviation is different because it describes score spread. Grade equivalent does not fit because it estimates grade level performance, often imperfectly. Question 96. After reading that the class improved partly because they know they are being studied, how should Ethan label the concept? Option A, placebo effect. Option B, Hawthorne effect. Option C, testing effect. Option D, observer bias. The correct answer is option B. Hawthorne effect. This describes Hawthorne effect because participants may change behavior simply because they are receiving attention in a study. Placebo effect is not the best choice because it involves improvement from belief in a treatment. Testing effect is different because it improves learning through retrieval practice. Observer bias does not fit because it occurs when researcher expectations shape recording. Question 97. For a short exam review, Ethan connects the class improve over a semester because they naturally grew older, not because of the program with which principle? Option A, regression to the mean. Option B, selection bias. Option C, maturation threat. Option D, instrumentation threat. The correct answer is option C. Maturation threat. This describes maturation threat because changes due to natural development can threaten conclusions about a treatment's effect. Regression to the mean is not the best choice because it occurs when extreme scores move closer to average later. Selection bias is different because it occurs when groups differ before a treatment. Instrumentation threat does not fit because it occurs when measurement changes over time. Question 98. Could a case where a researcher records detailed notes about classroom interactions instead of only counting scores be an example of which concept for Ethan? Option A, qualitative observation. Option B, meta-analysis. Option C, random assignment. Option D, standardized testing. The correct answer is option A. Qualitative observation. This describes qualitative observation because qualitative methods focus on rich descriptions and meanings in context. Meta-analysis is not the best choice because it statistically combines many studies. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Standardized testing does not fit because it uses uniform measurement procedures. Question 99. Why would Ethan link an instructor studies the effect of a new discussion routine in the teacher's own classroom to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, action research. Option B, longitudinal research. Option C, survey research. Option D, laboratory experiment. The correct answer is option A. Action research. This describes action research because practitioners investigate their own settings to improve local practice. Longitudinal research is not the best choice because it follows participants over time. Survey research is different because it gathers responses from questionnaires. Laboratory experiment does not fit because it tests variables in a controlled setting. Question 100. A practice item tells Ethan that families are told the study purpose, risks, and rights before agreeing to participate. Which concept is most likely? Option A, random assignment. Option B, debriefing. Option C, informed consent. Option D, confidentiality. The correct answer is option C. Informed consent. This describes informed consent because participants or guardians must understand key information and voluntarily agree. Random assignment is not the best choice because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Debriefing is different because it explains details after participation. Confidentiality does not fit because it protects private data.